I think I want to talk about the current state of affairs at the Rhode Island State House. So I want to kind of go through some of the bills that were actually heard this past week on March 18th, and just kind of show you what some of our elected officials think is a good use of time. And there's House and Senate in Rhode Island. There's two chambers there. And what happens is if a bill gets proposed in the House and it gets voted out of the House, that means that an overwhelming majority support it. Then it goes to the Senate for the same. And if the Senate also approves it, then it goes to the governor's desk. So this one here, 5103, is to prohibit landlords from inquiring about an applicant's prior incarceration and from discriminating against those who have been released from prison. So when we as a landlord have an apartment, I do a background check on that tenant, and one of the first things I'm looking for is their criminal history to see what type of decision making they've had throughout the course of their life, and also what I have to consider if there's a mother, which I rent to a lot of single mothers with children, and the type of crimes that this person has committed. This bill would prohibit me as a landlord from inquiring about that period, that incarceration, those crimes. It would essentially make criminals a protected class. How does that make you feel, right? How about right here, House Bill 5264 limits rent increases to no more than 4% annually. So you can't raise your rent more than 4%, but cities and towns can raise your taxes 50%, 100%, like in Woonsocket. I love Woonsocket, but my taxes have skyrocketed up there. This one right here, House Bill 5446, permits a tenant at the tenant's expense to implement energy conservation measures to any dwelling or dwelling unit that they live in. So do you want the tenant performing maintenance work like this? House Bill 5503 provides for just cause evictions, meaning that you must have a bona fide and a verified reason to terminate a tenancy. You can't just terminate a tenancy because you want to move in there, you want to renovate, you want to sell the property. You need to have just cause in order to have somebody move. This one, 5674, prohibits a landlord from inquiring about the immigration status of a prospective tenant. So you're telling me that I can't see if they're a citizen? I can't ask that type of question? Are they going to be living in my property? When I have somebody apply, they must have a social security number, a driver's license or ID number, and I check them. We do a background screening report, and we check their status, we check their identity, all that, credit. And if we can't ask about immigration status, I mean, how do we know who's living there? House Bill 5676 limits residential rent increases to 10%. Okay, so this is another bill, but it's not 4%, it's 10%. So there's multiple bills on the same issue, okay, which is interesting. House Bill 5916 increases the notification time about rent increases and termination of tenancy for month-to-month tenants. So instead of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days could be what they want. House Bill 5921 allows for a tenant to withhold payment of rent, deposit the rent accruing into an escrow bearing account upon the issuance of a second notice of violation by an enforcing officer for any state or local minimum housing code. So a lot of properties have violations, right? They have trash outside, they have peeling paint, they have pest issues, etc. So this is saying that a tenant could withhold their rent if that happened. Essentially control and tell you when they're going to pay. And yes, the property should be violation free, but they're not. They're not. These properties are over 100 years old in a lot of cases. They have things wrong with them. And the majority of these things won't pass, but they will gain steam and they will gain traction for next year.